Go. When going becomes your modus operandi, life gets crazy good. Chapter 11, Perspective. What is really crazy good? Is it landing your drive on the island green of hole 17? Is it walking into the Tesla store at Town Center and buying your dream car? Is it going on a cruise to the Bahamas? Is it enjoying that perfect fillet at Longhorns? Or could there be more to life than personal comforts and accomplishments? None of what I mentioned above is wrong and actually could be fun and good. But how about crazy good? This is where the need for a change in perspective becomes evident. This change is very unlikely while remaining in a place of comfort, a place where one feels in control, or a place that is safe. It's like we become trained as the elephant who has been restricted so long by a chain that once the chain is removed, the elephant remains in a small area, never realizing that it is free to roam. Our places of comfort, control, and safety act as invisible chains. We think this is all there is to life and become conditioned to the ordinary. But there is so much more. One of the best ways to experience the so much more is to go to a place that is uncomfortable, to a place that is much different culturally than what you are used to, and or to a place that is beyond your control. These places are where the so much more becomes your reality. I am just returning from such a place as I write this chapter. The Solomon Islands were definitely not what I was expecting. I arrived there after having spent a few days in the Philippines and then in Papua New Guinea. I didn't know what to expect and hadn't spent a lot of time thinking about it. Let's just say the conditions in the Solomon Islands were primitive. The weather was hot and the humidity was high. The food was rice, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The poverty was striking, with the majority of people being barefoot while a few wore flip-flops. But none of this is shared to complain or in a negative light. No, on the contrary, I experienced a crazy good time. I was traveling with a friend of mine, Dan Bauman, who shared his story of being imprisoned in Iran. He shared his story while we were in Papua New Guinea at a couple churches, and then with the YWAM students there at the base in Honoria, Solomon Islands. Even though Dan was in a really bad situation in Iran, when he shares his story, the goodness of God is what he emphasizes. At both services in Papua New Guinea, the closing song we sang was Goodness of God by Bethel Music. Wow, what a powerful time we had praising the goodness of our God. But what we experienced in the Solomon Islands was a step up. Oftentimes, a step up comes when you have intentionally taken a step down. One of the YWAM staff at the base in Honoria had just written a song about God's goodness, and at the conclusion of Dan's message, we sang it. For me, it felt like a foretaste of heaven. Over 50 people, with nothing but the shirt on their backs, were singing with great joy and passion. I was overwhelmed with the goodness of God. The next morning during worship, we sang, I Speak Jesus. And when we got to the line, I shout Jesus from the mountains and Jesus in the streets, you could have heard it a mile away. The joy, passion, and exuberance was again overwhelming. The best way I can describe what I experienced is crazy good. Our perspective on what is really good can change dramatically when we go. Honestly, I feel sorry for people whose perspective is limited due to never leaving their comfort zone. Life can become so mundane and boring that even extreme luxuries aren't appreciated. I don't mean to imply that a meal at In-N-Out is an extreme luxury, but I have to admit that when I arrived back in Los Angeles from the Solomon Islands, that vanilla shake just about made me cry. A sign that you may need an adjustment in your perspective is if complaining has become your go-to. Save your money and go with me next time I head to India. That will give you a new attitude regarding your circumstances. You'll be thanking God for the very things you were complaining about before. God blesses our obedient going, resulting in a thankful attitude for even the simple things in life like shoes, hamburgers, and air conditioning. The goodness of God is where the crazy good life dwells. Unfortunately, most never experience the crazy good because they are conditioned to stay like the elephant. The key to unlocking the treasure, to seeing a shift in one's perspective, to enjoying the crazy good life, is found in surrendering one's life and plans to Jesus. He is the giver of the crazy good. Obedience to go is a primary proof of one's surrender, and this is a daily choice. By His grace, I have made that choice many times, and some of the results are shared in the next chapter.